All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Maxed Out Radio. Minasan konnichiwa, Maxed Out Radio no aratana episode yokoso. Today, we're going to go over how the music is made for Maxed Out. That is right. Today is a very special episode because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So essentially, for those of you who don't know, this is a manga/anime being written about music. Hopefully getting an anime adaptation in the future. We are working on that at the moment. But the music is something that will be coming to you. It is 100% happening, which is very, very exciting. And it's one of the biggest things that I'm most excited for this project. So I wanted to talk today about how I'm making the music for this story, because it's actually very rare that you see music being written for a manga. So it's quite interesting to talk about, and I wanted to just kind of talk about that all day for today's episode. I don't know how long today's episode is going to be. I think it might be on the shorter side. We'll see about that as we go forward here. But essentially, I'm going to start off with what I am using to write the music for this show. And before we do that, of course, we have to review any of the comments or emails that we got. Unfortunately, no emails this time around. I just checked the inbox and we got no emails. So we're going to go to the comment section. What do we got? I think we got one comment last episode, which was Ultra Card Things Again, a returning viewer. Thank you for supporting. Thanks for answering my question about the guitar. Part of the reason I asked was because I bought my first guitar at the start of this year, and I was curious how others went through that decision process. Similar to you, I did some research on models recommended for beginners, and I ended up picking up a Squier Sonic Stratocaster in black and white finish. Always a great guitar to buy. Of course, Squier owned by Fender. So great guitar to have. The color was actually an important part of the decision for me. Black and white is a very classic combo, but I also don't like it very much. I intentionally picked a color scheme that I wouldn't be satisfied with because I wanted to make myself yearn for something that looks flashier. Interesting way to do it there. Very interesting way to go about that. I quite like that. So you're not really attached to the first guitar. You want to move on. You want to step up the ladder. And I told myself that I would only allow myself to buy another guitar when I've gotten good at it. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I haven't fully decided what it means to be good enough. Deciding a milestone is one of the milestones to reaching a milestone. That was definitely a sentence there. But for today's episode, I am super excited because I've recorded some phrases for us to have like a little soundboard. So for that one, I'm going to say congratulations.
Omerito, omerito, omerito.
That one was a little scuffed. It started it from the start. I think I have to do it a different way. But I have figured out how to add some sound effects. So we have some sound effects this time around, and some different ones, like this weird chord hit thing that I recorded with a guitar. Just to spice it up a little bit, get it a little more entertaining. But one thing I did want to mention before we get into the music was I'm sorry that this episode is so late. There's been a lot of construction going on around my house, and it has been absolutely impossible to record these videos because everything is just getting picked up in the background. And so I've had to wait until they are not here so that I could record this episode. And I'm very, very, very late because of that. I think we missed like 2 weeks, right? But this is episode number 3. And, the biggest thing about this radio show at the start is that these are mostly being recorded for me to look back on in the future. And so that's why they're kind of a little bit all over the place and maybe not as official as they will be later down the line. I'm sure I'll get much better at this once I go on. But we have sound effects now, which is always great to have because I think they're really funny and they'll spice things up when I can add the sound effects. So let's talk about the music. How the heck am I going to incorporate music in a manga? And that is a challenge that I had to overcome when I started this story, because I originally wrote this story to have it become an anime. For anyone listening to this for the first time, that was our intention. I wrote this story from the start because I envisioned it to become an anime. So that is what the foundations of it are built off of. But it's very difficult to get an anime without having a manga first, in my personal opinion. So I'm sure there's ways to go around that. But in order to write a manga, about music, I wanted it to be unique. And so what I thought was a unique way of doing this was to have the music attached to the story, because you don't see that done very often. I'm sure it's been done a few times here and there, but I think very rarely, maybe if ever, has a professional musician ever also written a manga and have the music be directly tied into the story. And the way that I've planned about doing this is to not only have a soundtrack for the pages, but also have the music that the band has written be able for you to be like, you could search that up on Spotify or SoundCloud and listen to it for yourself. So think about, this is just the example that comes off the top of my head. But Bocchi the Rock, right? That story did not have music written with it when it was in a manga form. So the story was originally a manga, was then adapted to an anime. And when they were adapting it to an anime, sorry, I just whacked my mic. When they adapted it to an anime, that's when they wrote the music for the show. So the music was never a part of Bocchi the Rock at the beginning. The difference between Maxed Out story, the one that we're writing, is the music is a part of the story from the very beginning. Because I'm a professional musician, I wanted to have an outlet to write J-Rock. And so I decided that I was going to write an anime/manga to be my outlet to write J-Rock. So that's how the music is tied into the story. But what I also wanted to do was, because I have this plan on being an anime, I was just going to write a soundtrack for like music that you would hear behind scenes. And I haven't decided how I'm going to do this yet, but I thought it would be so cool if like on the page, it just told you like what song to play. And so while you're reading, you could just have music playing in the background. And then when the bands are actually playing their songs, then you could also play the band songs. So you kind of have like background music to just kind of sit in the background, nice little soundtrack while you're reading through pages. And then in the big moments when the bands are playing their songs, then you can switch and listen to the songs. And so I wanted to have everything available on all platforms like SoundCloud, Spotify, all those big things, whatever you listen to your music on, YouTube, of course. I just thought it was a very unique way of writing a story, because I just don't think I've seen that really done before. In my own life, I haven't seen it done before. I'm sure it's been done by somebody before, but it's very ambitious, and I just really hope we can get it right. And so that's the main gist of why I've attached music to the story. But also I wanted to get into how I'm writing music for the story. And so I've been using FL Studio for years and years and years now, probably over 15 years. And I didn't start writing rock music until maybe about a year ago now. So I'm still very fresh in the rock world. I had to teach myself how to play the guitar. That was very difficult. Had to teach myself how to play the bass. That was very difficult. And I decided to stop playing the bass and start using a bass sim, because I just found it much easier that way. But I do want to be able to play the bass in the future. And I'm going to have to get better at that for sure. And also just using samples and stuff to write the drums as well, which I have been finding very difficult. But essentially, FL Studio is the platform that's being used to write all the music for the show. I am recording all the guitars myself, and then we use VST plugins for the drums and the bass. In the future, like I just said about 2 minutes ago, I want to be able to play the basses myself. I don't know about the drums. I would love to be able to learn the drums and play the drums, but obviously that's like, drums are just really big. It's hard to fit in a room, and then you got to have microphones and stuff. Like, it's just a pain. So I don't know about the drums, but who knows? Who knows where the story is going to go if we ever get to that point. So as for right now, it's just all the guitars that are being entirely recorded by myself. And then the vocals, of course. So I think vocals are an essential part of J-Rock. It's what makes J-Rock what it is, honestly. And so I do have a singer that is going to sing. And we've been, working back and forth trying to develop these songs. I've, of course, speak very basic Japanese. I do not speak Japanese well enough to be able to write song lyrics, so they're helping on that behalf. I would love to have them be a guest on the show at some point, but it is hard with the time zone difference. They live in Japan, I don't, so it's a little difficult with that. But I kind of just want to keep the singer out of it for now when it comes to the radio show and dropping information and like who it is and stuff, because the release of the songs is just kind of far away right now. And so I don't want to, spill a bunch of details and get you guys hyped up for something when I'm kind of unknown of where I'm at with that stuff right now. But it is happening. It is happening for sure. I would say for you guys that are anticipating this story to come out, when the music is ready, whenever I tell you guys the music is ready, that's how you know the story is getting close to release, because the music is the most important part of the story by far for me. And I need to nail the music for this to be successful. And so when the music is ready, then I'll know I'm ready to release the story. But if the music is not ready, then I'm just going to wait until it is, because I don't want you guys to read the story and not have any of the music attached to it. So it's very, very important that gets done for me if I want this to become what I envisioned it. So the next thing I wanted to go into was what the music is kind of based off of. So I can give you a couple bands, a couple J-rock bands that you can expect this to be based off of. Right off the bat, this one isn't a band. It's more of just, one person. But Sajuna Hana is one of my favorite J-rock artists right now. And so she's got a couple songs that are definitely based off of the style for the band I'm writing. I don't want to give you guys the band name yet of the Maxed Out Band. So we'll just call them that for now, the Maxed Out Band. But you guys will find out what their band name is when you read the story. So I'm going to keep that on the low for now. But the Maxed Out Band is definitely has some Sajo Nohana influence in it. And then I would say there's a little bit of Tricot in there as well. It's not amazing. Like, I don't know how to explain. Amazing wasn't the right word. It's not like identical, but just a little bit, like a little sprinkle in there. And I guess you could say there's some Keisoku band stuff in there too, like a lot of the bends, especially the way they do bends in their guitars, but a different style for sure. The tone of the guitar that I used is very different from what they used. It's not similar at all. In the sense, it's almost kind of like if you took a Keisoku band song and a Sajo Nahana song and you meshed them together and then took the guitars and played them in single coil mode instead of on the humbucker. That's kind of the sound that you get, because I've been using the Yamaha Pacifica and I always use the single coil for all the chords, but I've started using the single coil, which is the first position on the pickup switcher. I've always been using position 5 on that, but maybe about a month ago I switched to position 1 and started using a lot brighter of a sound, so you really get that Strat sound in the leads, which is something I like. Kind of like almost a little bit of a slappy sound is the way to explain it. So yeah, I mean, the music is pretty straightforward. It's nothing crazy in the sense of like that was definitely not the way to say that.
Bruh.
There was definitely a better way to say that for sure. I actually just told you guys, oh yeah, it's not amazing. It's not amazing. Like, man, what? Abusing the sound effects right now. I don't even know what I was trying to say there. This is more of what I meant. It's nothing that I feel like is, I'm very proud of it. I can say that. I have worked really, really, really hard on this music. And I keep listening to it over and over and over again to make sure it passes what I call the boring test, which is listening to a song over and over and over and over again. And if you get bored of it after, maybe a couple hours, then it's not a good song. So it needs to pass that test. You got to be able to listen to it on repeat over and over and over and over again and it not get boring. And then you've made a banger. So they're all going through that test over and over again because it's so important to me that the songs have re-listening value. A good song only has a good first impression, and only you can play it maybe a couple times. But then once you graduate that level and get to that repeatability where you can just play it over and over and over again, that's how you know you've made a good song. And so I've tried to make sure all of these songs pass that test. But I think by when I was saying like it's nothing amazing, I think the best way to put that is I just meant my guitar playing is not exceptional. I have a lot of knowledge in FL Studio, so I know how to make things sound clean, especially production wise, and I know how to fix any mistakes that I make. But like if I were to play these songs live, my guitar playing is not good enough to be able to play my own songs live yet. Hopefully down the line I'll get there, but they are actually quite difficult to play. But while we're talking about all my songs, like I'm just going back and forth in here. Why don't I play a little bit of a sample for you guys? I'll mute any vocals that I have on this, and we'll just play like, a quick little sample of one of these, so you can guys hear what I wrote. I'm gonna skip around it a little bit, but we'll just take a listen to what I wrote. Why not? Let's do that right now. I'm gonna turn down the volume, so like this won't be what it'll sound like when you guys actually listen to it for yourselves when it comes out. But I'll just turn down the volume. You can get a little bit of a peek of what I'm listening to, what I'm writing. There you go. So there you go. That's some of the music that I have been writing for this story. That's just one song. I've written probably like 40 of those. I only think about 7 or 8 of them are actually going to get released, but that song does have vocals that are going to be written over it. We're just still working on them. So that's a little bit of where the music is at. As for the story, we'll transition to the story. Let's use one of my little transition things right here. On to the next thing. Story time. I think that one needs some work. That one wasn't great. Oh man, I need to do better on the actual like little like this one's fine. This little thing, but I got to do better on the other one. I'm getting experimental with you guys right now. So let's move on to the actual story thing right here. Let's talk about the story a little bit. So where am I at with the story? What can you expect right now? When is this thing coming out? And the answer is I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I am currently working on page 56. Actually, as I started this radio show, this episode, I was on page 56. So that kind of means I'm still a ways away. I'm probably about 120 pages away from finishing this first volume. I'm very happy with where it's at right now. All of the characters have been introduced at this point for the most part. I think there's only 2 more that need to make their way into the story before volume 2 starts. So everybody's all together now. The band has all, met each other and whatnot without giving you guys spoilers. And so from this point forward, this is where the story really starts to develop and starts to become really cool in my eyes, because, the first 50 pages or so was kind of like getting your feet wet in the story. It was introducing everybody and kind of setting the foundation. And now where I'm at in the story is like when it actually begins. So think of it in this way. When you pick up this book, when you read it, buy it, whatever it is, I'm not sure how I'm going to distribute it yet, but when you do read it, this manga, I should say, because it's not a book, it's a manga. When you do get a chance to read this manga, think of the first 60 pages that I just worked on as kind of like episode 1 of the anime. Episodes 1 and 2, maybe it's more like an episode and a half, because when I've been drawing this, like that's all I've been thinking about with the pacing is, okay, what episode would this be? How could an anime studio translate this into episodes? And so right now, page 56, I'd say we just finished like episode 1.5, and we're just getting to the end of episode 2. So for you guys, that means there's a lot left in this story. There is definitely a lot left. So in anime form, it would probably, that's why I just don't know how long this first volume is going to be. Because if I've only completed about 2 episodes anime worth, then that means the first volume would only be up towards episode 6, which isn't enough. So, I think they have certain ways of, when they're writing animes, of manipulating things and changing things around to fit the pacing a lot better. So, you try not to worry about it too much, but it is definitely something I'm very conscious about while I'm working on this story. So that's where we're at right now. I believe that is the end of chapter 3. So I'm just getting close to starting chapter 4, which is when things start to get juicy, right? That it's when the real story starts to come in and starts to pick up. And so I don't want you guys to feel like it's got a slow start, but I think 60 pages is pretty normal for a manga when it comes to getting this story rolling and started, because that's about 3 chapters from most manga that I've read. Usually most chapters of manga I read are about 20 pages long. And so I think the pacing is pretty good so far. So today was pretty much a shorter episode. I think I'm going to end it here. I just wanted to talk about the music a little bit, talk about the story a little bit. I really don't have much else to talk about today. No updates or anything. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for supporting the Maxed Out project. I know it is a little strange to follow at the moment just because there's not that much out there, right? This radio show is the only thing that's public about the story right now. So thank you. If you are an early supporter, you're an OG. You're a real one if you're watching this because... yeah, I mean, you were here before the book even came out, so that's a big props to you. But I think I'm going to call it there for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Maxed Out Radio. I hope you guys had a lot of fun today. I really enjoy doing these episodes, so I encourage you to leave your comments below. Let me know your thoughts on the story. Let me know your thoughts of, where you're at with Maxed Out, things you want to know about the story, maybe things you're excited to see. And if you have any questions about the music or stuff like that, be sure to let me know. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. The email is down below if you want to submit any questions. And I will see you guys in the next episode of Max Out Radio. Take care, everybody.